Japanese minimalism cured my overthinking. These 5 habits work. Have you ever felt like your mind is running a marathon while you're just trying to make breakfast? Like there are 20 browser tabs open in your brain and none of them are responding? We've all been there, friend. The mental chaos we all know. Picture this scenario that probably sounds way too familiar. You wake up, and before your feet even hit the floor, your mind is already racing. What's on the schedule today? Did we reply to that email? Why did we say that awkward thing 3 days ago? Should we meal prep this week or just wing it again? And that's just the first 30 seconds of being awake. This constant mental chatter isn't just exhausting, it's actually stealing our peace and productivity. Studies show that the average person has about 60,000 thoughts per day. And here's the kicker. Roughly 80% of those thoughts are negative, and 95% are the same thoughts we had yesterday. We're basically running our minds on a hamster wheel, going nowhere fast. But what if we told you there's a gentle, time-tested approach that could quiet this mental storm? What if the answer isn't adding more to our lives, but actually taking things away? That's exactly what Japanese minimalism teaches us, and it's been a complete game changer for millions of people dealing with overthinking. Japanese minimalism isn't about living in an empty, white room with nothing but a single plant. It's about creating space, both physical and mental, for what truly matters. When we remove the excess, we naturally create room for clarity, peace, and intentional living. Understanding Japanese minimalism beyond the aesthetics. Now, when most people hear Japanese minimalism, they immediately think of those Instagram-perfect rooms with spotless surfaces and maybe one carefully placed vase. But authentic Japanese minimalism goes much deeper than just having less stuff around the house. The roots of this philosophy come from ancient Japanese principles, like ma, which refers to the purposeful use of emptiness and space, and kanso, meaning simplicity and elimination of clutter. These aren't just design principles, they're ways of approaching life that have been refined over centuries. Think about traditional Japanese gardens for a moment. They're not trying to cram every beautiful flower and ornament into one space. Instead, they use careful placement, negative space, and intentional emptiness to create something that feels peaceful and harmonious. That same principle applies to how we can organize our thoughts and daily routines. The beautiful thing about Japanese minimalism is that it recognizes something our fast-paced culture often forgets, that having fewer choices can actually make us happier and more decisive. When we're not constantly weighing dozens of options or managing countless possessions, our minds have the bandwidth to focus on what's genuinely important. Research from Columbia University found that when people are presented with too many choices, they often end up feeling paralyzed and less satisfied with whatever they eventually choose. Japanese minimalism naturally solves this problem by encouraging us to thoughtfully curate our options rather than keeping everything just in case. This approach doesn't mean we become boring or stop enjoying life. Instead, it means we become more intentional about what we allow into our physical and mental space. We start asking better questions like, does this serve a purpose? And does this bring me joy or peace, rather than just accumulating things and commitments without thinking? Habit 1. The art of single tasking. Ichigo Ichie. Let's talk about something that might sound almost revolutionary in our multitasking world, doing just one thing at a time. The Japanese concept of Ichigo Ichie teaches us that each moment is unique and deserves our full attention. This isn't just philosophical fluff, it's a practical antidote to the mental chaos that comes from trying to juggle 17 different things simultaneously. We've all bought into this myth that multitasking makes us more productive, but science tells a completely different story. Research from Stanford University shows that people who multitask are actually less productive, more prone to making mistakes, and have trouble focusing even when they try to concentrate on just one thing. Our brains aren't designed to split attention. They're designed to dive deep into one task and do it well. When we practice single tasking, something magical starts to happen. That constant mental chatter begins to quiet down because we're not trying to hold multiple threads of thought at once. Instead of having our attention scattered across emails, social media, work projects, and random worries, we channel all that mental energy into whatever we're doing right now. The key is starting small and being realistic about it. Pick one routine activity, maybe drinking your morning coffee or taking a shower, and commit to doing just that thing. No phone scrolling, no mental planning, no trying to solve work problems. Just be present with that one simple activity. What's fascinating is how this one change starts rippling out into other areas of life. When we're fully present while eating, we actually taste our food and feel satisfied with less. When we're completely focused during conversations, our relationships get deeper and more meaningful. When we give our full attention to work tasks, we often finish them faster and with better quality than when we were constantly switching between things. The overthinking mind loves to jump around, but single-tasking trains us to stay anchored in the present moment. It's like giving our brain a calm, steady rhythm to follow instead of the frantic, scattered pace that feeds anxiety and mental overwhelm.
Habit 4. The power of enough. Setting boundaries. One of the most powerful concepts in Japanese minimalism is understanding and embracing enough. In a culture that constantly pushes us to want more, do more, and be more, learning to recognize when we have sufficient can be absolutely revolutionary for an overthinking mind. Overthinking often stems from this persistent feeling that we need to optimize everything, consider every possibility, and make perfect decisions. But the concept of enough teaches us that there's tremendous peace in accepting that good enough is often actually perfect. This applies to so many areas where our minds tend to spiral. When we're making decisions, we can choose to gather enough information rather than trying to research every possible angle until we're paralyzed by options. When we're working on projects, we can aim for quality completion rather than perfect perfection that never quite arrives. Setting boundaries around our mental energy becomes crucial here. We start recognizing that we don't need to have an opinion about everything, solve every problem we encounter, or optimize every small decision. Some things genuinely deserve our careful thought and attention, but many things can be handled with simple, straightforward choices. Japanese minimalism teaches us to become more selective about where we invest our mental resources. Instead of spreading our thinking thin across hundreds of small concerns, we can focus our mental energy on the few things that truly matter to our values and goals. This isn't about becoming lazy or careless. It's about becoming strategic and intentional. When we stop overthinking the small stuff, we actually have more mental clarity and energy available for the decisions and challenges that genuinely deserve our careful attention. The practice of enough also helps us recognize when we're falling into perfectionist thinking patterns that fuel overthinking. We start noticing the difference between healthy attention to quality and the mental hamster wheel that comes from never feeling satisfied with our efforts. Habit 5. Embracing impermanence and letting go. Perhaps the most profound habit we can learn from Japanese minimalism is the art of letting go. The Japanese concept of mono no aware teaches us to find beauty in the temporary nature of things, and this perspective can be incredibly healing for minds that get stuck in endless loops of worry and analysis. Overthinking often happens because we're trying to control outcomes that are largely beyond our influence. We replay conversations, worry about future scenarios, and analyze past decisions because some part of us believes that enough mental effort can somehow change or control these situations. But embracing impermanence teaches us a different way. When we truly understand that everything in life is temporary, our worries, our mistakes, our current problems, and yes, even our current successes, it becomes easier to hold these things more lightly. This doesn't mean we stop caring or become passive. Instead, we learn to engage fully with life while recognizing that change is the only constant. This perspective transforms how we relate to our thoughts themselves. Instead of getting caught up in every worry or anxious thought that passes through our minds, we can observe them with curiosity and compassion, knowing that they too are impermanent. Thoughts arise, exist for a while, and then naturally fade away when we don't feed them with our attention and energy. Research in cognitive behavioral therapy shows that people who can observe their thoughts without immediately believing or acting on them report significantly lower levels of anxiety and depression. This observer mindset is exactly what the practice of impermanence cultivates. Learning to let go also means releasing our attachment to having everything figured out. Overthinking minds often believe that if we just think hard enough, long enough, we can predict and prepare for every possible scenario. But life is inherently uncertain, and fighting that uncertainty only creates more mental suffering. When we embrace impermanence, we can find peace in not knowing everything, in making decisions with incomplete information, and in trusting that we'll figure things out as they come. This doesn't make us reckless, it makes us more adaptable and resilient. Your journey to mental clarity. The path from overthinking to mental clarity doesn't happen overnight, and that's perfectly okay. Japanese minimalism teaches us that sustainable change comes through gentle, consistent practice rather than dramatic overhauls that we can't maintain. What we love about these 5 habits is that they work together naturally. As you practice single tasking, your physical spaces start feeling less chaotic. As you create mindful rituals, you naturally start recognizing what's enough in different areas of your life. As you embrace impermanence, letting go becomes less scary and more liberating. The goal isn't to eliminate all thoughts or never feel overwhelmed again. That's not realistic or even desirable. The goal is to develop a healthier relationship with our minds, where we can observe our thoughts without being dominated by them, where we can feel our feelings without being overwhelmed by them, and where we can make decisions from a place of clarity rather than anxiety. Remember, every small step counts. Even choosing to fully focus on 1 cup of coffee this morning or spending 5 minutes organizing your workspace is movement in the right direction. These simple practices have the power to gradually transform not just how we think, but how we experience life itself. Japanese minimalism reminds us that sometimes the most powerful changes come not from adding more to our lives, but from thoughtfully removing what no longer serves us. In creating space, both physical and mental, we make room for the clarity, peace, and joy that were there all along, just waiting to be discovered.